Hi, I'm Maya Zimmerman. I'm a very small-time game dev and proponent of communism. When I made my first game, one of the things I considered was, how can I make communism a facet of this game world? And it was pretty easy. It's a shmup, so you just get your choice of power-up at the end of the stage instead of having to pay for one. But I've also considered this possibility for games more reliant on exchanging money for goods and services, such as sim games and RPGs, and it got me thinking, what if Trails in the Sky was communist? I'll let you know in advance, I'm not well versed in theory and stuff, and I have a lot of mental health issues. Yeah, I legitimately get triggered by conflict. And I know making a video like this is going to generate some of that. I'll try to engage with the comments when and if I can, but no promises. You might have to just battle it out among yourselves. I'd like to make a series about this, exploring other games, but I don't know how much variety there would be from game to game, since a lot of these ideas would translate to other games in much the same way. So, without further ado, let's look at what Trails in the Sky might look like if it was communist. Trails in the Sky is a fairly traditional JRPG mechanically. Actually, hold on. I need to preface this real quick. If you haven't played Trails in the Sky and you enjoy JRPGs, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's really just a phenomenal JRPG. It does come with a few caveats, which I've outlined in my review of the game on Steam, and which I'm not going to go into detail here. Just suffice it to say, it's really, really good. Now, this is going to be a 100% spoiler-free video, but I will be referencing a lot of aspects of the world itself, so having played the game will be a benefit to understanding the fine details, but I'll try to keep it as simple as I can. Anyway, Trails in the Sky is a fairly traditional JRPG mechanically. You go from town to town, killing monsters and doing fetch quests to get its in-game currency, Mira, to buy weapons and items, all while fulfilling mandatory quests that advance the plot. So, what if there was no Mira in the Liberal Kingdom? I'm not going to get into factors like quality of life for citizens or changes in perspective over time from living in a society like that, because I can't pretend to know how these things would change in this context. Plus, we're not really exposed to systemic issues like racism and ableism in the game in the first place, because it's a fictional world, and really a pretty nice one at that. I'm just going to be looking at it from a real-life practicality perspective and gameplay perspective. So let's start with something small. What if things like equipment didn't cost Mira? One of the main things Mira is used for is the procurement of better weapons and armor as you move from town to town. Why would anyone give them away for free? And why bother with a system of getting better equipment if all you have to do is go in and ask for it? Let's start with real-life practicality. Why would you own an equipment shop if you had no financial gain from it? Wouldn't everyone in town just get the best sword they could all the time? Simply put, most people neither need nor want adventuring gear. And if they did, they would probably be interested in doing something like joining the Bracers Guild. Ma and Pa Perzel don't need a Buster Sword, and they would be aware of the value it held for their community for it to go to Bracers who faced danger as part of their job and had trained with that equipment. And realistically, Bracers wouldn't be getting multiple copies of the same weapon because there would be no point. It would take up too much storage space, and they couldn't carry a ton of stuff like that anyway. Chances are, on the go, as this game is, the heroes would be trading in their current equipment at stores when they found something that better suited their needs. So what would this look like from a gameplay perspective? What would be the point of going to the equipment store if you could just have whatever you wanted? Well, if you're doing side quests, this is already pretty much a reality. As for why you'd do side quests in such a system in the first place, we'll get to that later. But suffice it to say, if you do the side quests in Trails in the Sky, you will never have an issue where you run out of Mira buying equipment. You can always get the best equipment at the store. You don't even have to worry about selling your stuff to get Mira back by about halfway through. Plus, there's a ton of great gear found in treasure chests throughout the locales, so you really could skip equipment shops in general and not have an issue. So what's the point, other than to incentivize doing side quests? Well, more than a reward for doing side quests, the equipment shops are a reward for exploring the town, and they fill out its citizenry, a thing this game excels at rewarding your exploration of, by giving you lots of dialogue and glimpses into the rich lives of its NPCs. You're rewarded by getting blatantly stronger, but also strategizing when it comes to accessories. And this is a thing that could be expanded to weapons and armor too, to make it not blatantly just the same weapon, but stronger. You could choose between equipment with different elemental aspects. You could get something heavier that slows you down but is stronger. It could be more interesting and fun in such a system by making the experience more calculating than just, yes, get stronger sword. Slap a little realism in there by making you exchange equipment rather than accumulate, and you've got a fun and engaging system that rewards you with strategizing. After all, you're meant to trade in weapons anyway, right? Nobody just amasses a million weapons at the end of the game, right? Okay, so that about covers equipment, but what about quartz? Those wonderful little bits of definitely not materia that are oh so good to collect. They don't take up a ton of space, and you legitimately want to hang on to them to make different combinations to unlock different arts. Why wouldn't you just buy all of every quartz? Well, this isn't a thing in the current system, and it wouldn't be in the communist one either, for one simple reason: resources. You see, while you build a massive fortune of Mira from doing side quests, you only gain the resource for synthesizing quartz, Sepith, by obtaining it in battle. So in a one-to-one translation of that game world, where the Orbital stores don't have the resources themselves, it would work in exactly the same way. But let's consider what would happen if the Orbital stores did have the resources themselves, and you didn't get them from battle. Let's say miners handle all the gathering of Sepith necessary for the Orbital stores. As with the equipment stores, most people aren't going to be using battle quartz. And likewise, there's no reason to get a million HP 1s because each player can only equip one of each kind of quartz. At most, you would only ever need 4 of any given quartz. And if we use that realistic dynamic of exchanging rather than accumulating, other than being able to get more quartz as you open up more slots, you would likewise be strategizing what quartz you want and what you can give up as you move from town to town. So there's pretty much only one other thing Mira is used for, and that's consumables. Now this is where things get a little trickier because on a practical level, these items, especially food, would be things sought out by the general public, and the value of their use is tied to their cost. If you could have 99 revive bombs, wouldn't you just always do that? Well, from a practical standpoint, no. That's way too many of anything to carry, even if it's small. And regular people depend on these goods. You wouldn't want to take so much of something you don't need that it puts other people in danger. And from a gameplay perspective, as I said before, Mira is practically no object once you're a decent way in the game. You could already buy 99 tier bombs, and it would be no big deal. But you don't, because it's pointless, and would be a major issue in the balancing if you needed that many items, because the battles would be extremely tedious. Plus, healing arts are better than items for most purposes anyway. And again, with a little bit of realism, where the shops can only offer so much of each of their goods to travelers, you basically got the same dynamic early where you can't buy all the revived bombs. Plus, as with everything else, there are lots of these items to be found in chests, to the point you can skip item shops entirely, in which the real reward for visiting is the exploration of the towns and the interactions you have. So we don't need Mira. But then, what would be the incentive to do side quests? The primary incentive would actually be identical to what it is in the regular game. You see, you don't need Mira and Trails in the Sky. Pretty much at all. You can go through the whole game without doing a single side quest, and you'd probably be fine due to the way the game is balanced through chests and the retry feature. So why do we do side quests in Trails in the Sky? Especially when you realize not too long in that they're unnecessary. I think it comes down to two things. One, this is a role-playing game, and the role you're playing is that of people whose job it is to help out the citizens of Liberal. And it feels right to do your best to help out, because that's what the characters would do themselves. Two, this game has incredible depth in so many ways, and a major part of that is how well fleshed out a lot of NPCs are, and how genuinely entertaining a lot of the side quests are. If you do side quests in the first game, you build relationships that are referenced later in the game or even in the second one. That alone is a great reward. The game tells you you did good, so you get this dialogue. Absolutely perfectly fitting. Alright, so that's my take on what Trails in the Sky could be like if it was communist. I do think, as I went on, a lot of this is kind of specific to just how special Trails in the Sky is as a game. I don't know if it would work quite as well in a game that's not as engaging. But maybe that's a sign that these kinds of details should be things game devs are considering for their own games. Would my side quests be engaging without a tangible reward like money or stat boosts? If not, what's their purpose beyond making players spend more time doing menial things? As I said, I don't know how much I can engage with the comments, but please leave a comment with your thoughts below, and please be respectful of one another. Thanks. Bye bye.